We're on lesson 10, comparing equations in different forms. What we're going to be doing is looking at different ways of showing relationships and seeing if it creates the same line on the graph. So number one gives us an equation in slope-intercept form. Of course, a reminder there, that's y equals mx plus b, wherein m, -1/2 here, is going to be your slope, and b, in this case 4, is going to be your y-intercept. So use that to plot that graph. Number 2 is in point slope form. So your reminder there that y minus y1 equals m times x plus x, or minus x1. So again, we have our slope is here, -1/2. And because we have that minus y1 and minus x1, because we're subtracting here, these stay positive. And so we have the points 2, 3 that we're going through. So go ahead, plot that one as well. And for number 3 down here, I have a lot covered up here, but we have our equation is in standard form, ax plus by equals c. This is honestly my least favorite form. Our best way of graphing this is to find the x and y intercept. So a little reminder here that your x-intercept, to find that, you substitute in y equals 0, and to find your to find your y-intercept, you plug in x equals 0. And that'll give you these equations. You can then solve for your intercepts, plot your intercepts, and get your graph. Right, I'm not going to linger on it too long, but I'm just going to scroll through so you can see this is my graph for number 1, my graph for number 2, and my graph for number 3. You should, of course, have shown whatever work you have done for those, and your graph should look kind of similar to mine. So for your question here that I have that I want you to answer is, what do you notice about these 3 graphs? Just looking at what you've done, what do you notice about these 3 graphs? We're going to go on to number 4. So for number 4, we are rewriting each of these into slope-intercept form in case you need that reminder. Slope-intercept form is obviously y equals mx plus b. And so what we really are just doing is solving for y, moving everything about so that we end up solving for y. So our first thing here, if we're looking at problem number 2, we're going to start by doing our distributive property. So that is, of course, multiplying -1/2 times everything in the parentheses. So -1/2 times x. And if we rewrite this as a negative plus a -2, -1/2 times -2. So we do our distributing, and we end up with y minus 3 equals -1/2 x plus 1, or minus a -1. Then we're going to go ahead and get rid of this -3 on the left. We have y minus 3. So to get rid of that, we're going to add 3 to both sides. We have y minus 3 plus 3 equals -1/2 x plus 1 plus 3. And we end up with the equation y equals -1/2 x plus 4. And this is in slope-intercept form, where we have y equals m x plus b. Next, doing the same thing over here with problem 3, solving so that we have just y by itself on the left. So the first thing here, we're going to subtract x from both sides so that we get rid of that x. And we end up with 2y equals 8 minus x. Next, we're going to divide by 2. What you want to make sure on the right side here is that you divide both terms by 2. So that x is divided by 2, 8 is also divided by 2. And we end up with y equals 4 minus x over 2. Doesn't really look like slope-intercept form, so we're going to do a little rearranging. And we end up with y equals 4 minus 1/2 x. Or again, you can rewrite that so it actually looks in the same order, y equals mx plus b. And that's going to be y equals -1/2 x plus 4. And what I hope you notice is that all of these equations, y equals -1/2 x plus 4, y equals -1/2 x plus 4, and if we go back to our original slope-intercept form, y equals -1/2 x plus 4, they are all the same. The slope, -1/2, is the same. You might have even seen that between 1 and 2. And here we show that it's the same over here. And the y-intercept is the same, which you might have also noticed when you found your y-intercept. And similarly, if you look at the graph you got, they cross your axes at the same spot. Your x-intercept is 8, and your y-intercept is 4. So these are all the same lines. So what we can say here is that if a line has the same slope and y-intercept, then they are the same line. All right. Numbers 5 through 8, you're going to go ahead and do them on your own. And at this point, you will pause and get your note check before you go on to the rest of this lesson. So number 9 here, I'm going to talk you through real quick, and then you will do it on your own. So we have line L here, and it gives us the information in the form of a table. And what you need to find, if you go back to what I said here, you need your slope and your y-intercept. So that's what you're going to find from this table. So to find your y-intercept, it's really easy. We know that your y-intercept is any value in which x is 0, because that's going to put it on your y-axis. So your y-intercept here, 8. That's B. That's great. We've got our y-intercept. Now to find your slope, you're going to use the equation, of course, y2 minus y1 equals x2 minus x1. Let me write that down for you so you can remember it. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That gives you your slope. Here, Ms. Costin has picked out 2 points for us, -9, 14, and 12, 0. So doing y2 minus y1, 0 minus 14, over x2 minus x1, 12 minus -9. You end up with -14 over 21. Simplify by dividing by 7. We end up with -2/3 as our slope. And then once you have your slope and y-intercept, you can write the equation. Y equals -2/3 x plus 8, which would be your y-intercept, or your slope and y-intercept. That's your equation of the line. All right, for line N, I want you to quickly find your slope on your own, and then I'm going to show you how you can find your y-intercept when it isn't just given for you. So the slope you should have gotten for line N is -2/3. I chose these 2 points. You might have chosen 2 other points. That's okay. But either way, you should have gotten the slope of -2/3. So now that you have that, you can plug in most information you have into the form, point slope form. So let me write that up here again to remind you what point slope form is. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we have our slope since we just found it, and we have several points we can choose from to plug in for y1 and x1. I plugged in -2 for y1, so we have y minus -2 equals -2/3, that's our slope, times x minus 15, which was our x1. And now we're just going to solve for y in order to put this into slope-intercept form. So start by distributing. -2/3 times x is -2/3 x. -2/3 times -15 gives us a +10. And we've written this with our additive inverse, y plus 2. Subtracting 2 from both sides, you end up with y equals -2/3 x plus 8, which puts it into slope-intercept form. So part B, are lines L, N, and the same line? Explain how you know. Yes, they are, because they have the same slope, -2/3, and y-intercept 8. And I'd even like for when you write your explanation, include those. So instead of m, they have the same slope, -2/3, and y-intercept 8. And that's going to be the same thing for number 10. You are going to complete number 10 on your own and answering the question, are they the same? Yes or no. And of course, yes, if they have the same slope and y-intercept. No, if one of those things are different. That's it for this lesson. Get your notes checked when you are done, and then you can do the exit ticket.